6 things that we had to unlearn. Control doesn't equal safety.
I was trying to create safety through control. I kept over-functioning, over-giving, overachieving because I needed more control to try and feel safe. It was never satiated.
Criticism is not motivational.
How you relate to yourself is how you relate to others.
For a man, it feels like you're failing.
Yeah.
When you can't tick the box and achieve the goal, it feels like you're failing. So if it's a game you can't win, then why play it?
Why play it?
We can't dissolve the shame. And when you don't face it and when you're not honest, the shame will just keep you trapped.
I need you to be honest with me. If you can't be honest and you can't tell the truth, we can't move forward. I can't work with that. No one can work with lies. You can't solve problems with lies.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Save My Marriage podcast. My name's Adam Simmons and this is my beautiful wife, Aston. And today we're going to be talking about the 6 things that we had to unlearn to save our marriage, which is really going to be really interesting because there has been a lot of things that we had to unlearn from conditioning and parenting and our own childhoods. So we're going to dive into that in a minute. But before we do that, I'd love to just do we thought we'd do a life update today, what's been going on.
Yes.
So did you want to share with us what's been going on?
Yeah, well, firstly, we're doing this episode because we're celebrating our 11-year wedding anniversary.
Yes, that
and
is true.
22 years together.
Yeah.
So celebrating us, we celebrated in beautiful Bali with actually 16 of our clients from Save My Marriage School, which was really amazing.
Yeah.
So part of our life update is that we have just had the most incredible 3 weeks. Some people probably listen to this and think, wow, was that only in 3 weeks? Because a lot happened. So we had a family holiday to Queenstown, New Zealand. We used to live there 10 years ago, and it was one of our dreams to take our kids back. So we did it. We took our kids back and we went skiing with our kids. That was just such a pinch me moment. We taught our kids how to ski and then we skied down the mountain with them. And it was a core memory I will never forget. Even landing in New Zealand, in Queenstown, I think Adam and I were both quite emotional bringing our kids back.
Definitely.
And that place definitely holds a special place in our heart. Going back to Queenstown, having all those core memories with the kids. We even caught up with some old friends that now have kids and both our kids got to play and catch up. So just really special. It was just a really nourishing, beautiful family holiday. And I think one of the best family holidays we've had, I think for everybody. So that was amazing. We came home, I think we had 4 or 5 days before we jet set it off again.
Yeah, it was about a week at home and then we were off again to our 3-day retreat in Bali with our clients.
Yeah, it was amazing. We do a 3-day retreat for our Save My Marriage School clients and we 16 people there, 8 couples, that was right, wasn't it? Yeah. And we had 3 beautiful, powerful days with them. The transformations were just incredible. We're going to have to do an episode just on the Bali retreat because there was so many transformations from that 3-day retreat. And it reinforced to me and reminded me why we do a 3-day retreat when we work with couples. Couples can work with us just online in Save My Marriage School, but we really encourage adding in the 3-day retreat because it's a way that we can do a lot of the heavy lifting for the couples. We get them in the right environment with the right practices, with the right tools. And, we had one couple who had only been working with us for 3 weeks or maybe a month before the Bali retreat. And they have done a complete 360 and their transformation is just incredible. And it's because they got in the room with us and we could do the heavy lifting to help them get the results faster. And also to just do the thing you're scared to do. There's so many things that couples know they should be doing on a day-to-day basis, but they're not in the right environment that actually forces them to do it. Yeah. In a safe way and a supportive way, but really gets them out of their comfort zone. So that was amazing, the 3-day Bali retreat. And while we were there, we got to celebrate our 11-year anniversary as well, which was really special and have some one-on-one time together. The kids had some quality time with their grandparents and their kittens, so they loved that. And then we came back and we facilitated a 1-day Recreate Your Relationship retreat in Perth for 40 people. that was another incredible retreat, and lots of really powerful transformations and feedback from that one, 6-hour day. One Adam and I were reading the other morning where, this beautiful woman shared that we not only saved her marriage, we saved her life. And like, wow, like hearing that feedback, Adam and I were just like tears, goosebumps, like all the feelings. Like we know the work we're doing has an impact on people's lives, but when someone shares what they've been going through and that they came to the retreat as like their last hope, not just for their marriage, but even their life, and that we were able to create the safety and to make them feel seen and heard and understood, where they feel like they have hope and they can get back up again, is just incredible. Like really, really powerful. So and that was all in 3 weeks. So, and obviously in that time, we've also been parenting. It's been school holidays. We've had play dates because obviously our kids love seeing their friends when we are home. So we make sure we prioritize that as well, because we know their connections and their needs are, really important. So amongst all that, we've done that. We also caught up with a lot of family when we're in Perth, which was really nice. We love to make sure we make an effort to see our family and connect with them when we're there. So it's been an amazing 3 weeks. It really does feel like we've quantum leaped. Like if you had asked me like 6 months ago, for a life update, I don't think it would have had that much in 3 weeks. So, and surprisingly, we actually feel really good. Like we have been taking care of ourselves. So we've been getting sleep. At the Bali retreat, we were having all the nourishing food and the juices, and we were doing ice baths and saunas. So I think we've been really supporting our nervous systems and our bodies as well. So, which is good. But it's been amazing.
It has been amazing. It's been an amazing 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll dive into the 6 things that we had to unlearn.
Yes.
To save our marriage. So the first one was control doesn't equal safety.
Yes.
And I'd love for you to share what that was for you and what that looked like to help people understand.
Yeah, well, I think this was an issue for both of us, actually, but it definitely, mine showed up first, I think. And once I started to work through my issue with control, then it actually highlighted that you also had an issue with it. So, I do think it's not gendered. A lot of these things you need to unlearn are not gendered. Like, there's plenty of couples, we've shared this with our community, and there's plenty of men who can also relate to the things that I've had to unlearn, and also Adam. So these are the 6 that we both, I think, have had to unlearn, just in different degrees, I would say. So for me, I definitely used to micromanage and like try and plan everything, and I was a bit of a taskmaster, and it was always about productivity and what are we doing and what's happening, but it was always from a place of fear. It was always from a place of not enoughness and fear and scarcity. So I was trying to create safety through control. And we've done an episode on this before, and a lot of women make this mistake. And the problem with it is it just actually reinforces that you're unsafe. And that's what kept happening. And so then I just kept taking on more and more and more. I kept like over-functioning, over-giving, overachieving, because I needed more control to try and feel safe. It was like never satiated, because it wasn't actually making me feel safe. It was just a story that I was telling, and I'd been living from a long time. It was all fear, really. And I had to unlearn that control equals safety. I had to start to learn that actually letting go and trusting is actually how you build safety and trust and intimacy in a relationship. You cannot build all of those things by controlling, by even trying to control somebody else, because you don't have control over them. And you don't have control over life either. So learning how to create safety in myself so I could be okay with uncertainty, and so that I could let you lead, let you make decisions, like let you support me, let you help me, was huge. And that was a really big unlearning for me. I literally had to release control so that I could trust you. That is what had to happen.
Yep, totally.
Yeah.
And it had an amazing impact, because the less that you were trying to control, the more I felt like I could make decisions and the more I
Yep.
felt I could lead. Energetically, it put us both back into more balance of you being more in your feminine, me being
Yep.
more in my masculine, me just feeling more free to make decisions and do the things that I naturally wanted to do. And we see this in a lot of men, when they feel controlled, they tend to continue to withdraw.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because what's the point in trying if I'm always being told it's not good enough or it should be done a different way? So it definitely opened up a new possibility for a relationship. So number 2, criticism. This is the second thing we had to unlearn. Criticism is not motivational.
Yes. So I would say I'm going to be vulnerable and honest, take responsibility. I struggled with this the most.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think most women do, because women, unfortunately, are taught to respond to criticism. So women are very critical of each other. It's so sad. I've worked with so many women who were raised by really critical mothers, where it just felt nothing was ever good enough. And they had to work so hard to feel loved by their mum. And then they still didn't feel loved by her. It's like it was never a good enough. And then they take on that inner critic and that becomes their voice. And I had the same thing. I had such a mean inner critic, such a mean inner voice that was constantly criticizing me. And because I was so hard on myself, like beyond taking responsibility, like, just mean to myself, I then, how you relate to yourself is how you relate to others. So I would just project that criticism onto you, thinking that would motivate you to be better, try more, do more, step up. And the opposite happened, because criticism is not motivational at all. It took me way too long to learn that even for myself, I had kind of conditioned myself to believe that if I wasn't criticizing myself, if I wasn't being hard on myself, that I wouldn't try, that I wouldn't be better, that I wouldn't put in a lot of effort. I was telling a story that if I stopped criticizing myself, I would basically do nothing and be lazy. And that was my ego's way of being right and stopping me from changing. And the opposite was true. The opposite was true. As soon as I started to be kinder and more compassionate to myself, I actually grew faster and it was way easier. I was no longer struggling to make changes because I could have compassion for myself. I didn't need to beat myself up anymore. I didn't have to grow from self-punishment. I could be honest with myself, but there is a really big difference between honesty and taking responsibility and criticism. Criticism is really hurtful and it's unnecessary. The truth does not have to be brutal. The truth is usually neutral and it's honest. So yeah, that was a really big shift for me. And I had this story that basically that I was doing everything. And because I'm doing everything, obviously he must be doing nothing,
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'm not the only one who told that story. I can laugh about it now because that's no longer our story. But it just made Adam shut down, withdraw, not even try. He literally thought, what is the point? Before I even start, you're criticizing me. So why would I even take the risk to try and do more? Because I'm basically setting myself up for more attack, more criticism, more rejection.
Yeah.
Why would I do that to myself?
Yeah. And we hear this from a lot of men, don't we?
Yeah.
A lot of men that we work with who just get to that point where they just start to quietly quit.
Yeah.
Because they have tried for a long time.
Yes.
But it never quite meets the mark. It's not quite the standard that is expected. Or they just have a different way of seeing things and doing things, and it's just constantly criticized. And for a man, it feels like you're failing.
Yeah.
When you can't tick the box and achieve the goal, it feels like you're failing. So if it's a game you can't win, then why play it?
Why play it? Yeah.
It's like the rules are broken and you can't even win.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's a pretty defeating process. And that's why a lot of men then actually spend a lot of time at work or they drink a lot.
Just somewhere else
where they can actually feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so the opposite that I had to learn is that actually appreciation is motivating. Like it sounds so obvious. When I say it now, I'm like, it's so obvious that appreciation is what inspires people to be better.
Yeah, but if you weren't raised like that, it's not normal.
It's not. Yeah, you don't realize that. Yeah, if you didn't get a lot of praise or positive reinforcement, I remember in the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't even know how to praise you. Like trying to get the words out, I felt a bit like, this feels really awkward,
Yeah.
Now I'm like, every second word is like, thank you, I appreciate you, I love how you do this. Like, it's so natural for me now. But
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest that in the beginning, because I was raised with lots more criticism, appreciating did not come natural. But I had to remind myself that just because it doesn't come naturally doesn't make it wrong. It's just unfamiliar. It's just new. And actually, the truth was, what was familiar for me, which was criticism and being highly critical, was actually, although it felt familiar, that was actually unsafe for me. It was unsafe for me in myself and my own mental health and how I felt about myself and my own self-concept. But it was also really damaging to our relationship. And then, when I became a mum, it was then damaging to my kids.
Yeah.
So, learning that appreciation is actually what inspires people to change. So if you have a partner who you want to change, I can almost guarantee the reason they're not changing is because you're criticizing them. And every second word that's coming out of your mouth is a form of criticism. So what if you just tried the opposite and just started appreciating what they are doing, appreciate who they are being, giving them praise and appreciation, and just try it on for like 7 days and just notice what happens. And the clients that I've given that task to have been amazed at the impact that it has. And they're like, I can't believe it. He's starting to do more. Like, it actually has inspired him. And now I'm looking at him in a different way. I'm like, yeah, it actually works, because criticism is not motivating. You have to unlearn that, and you have to start to learn that appreciation is what inspires change.
Yeah, totally. So number 3, vulnerability is strength, not weakness.
Yes. This was, I think, a big one for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm very sensitive, super emotional, very sensitive.
Yeah.
And I always have been a very deep thinker. And when I was younger, I was definitely conditioned to believe that my sensitivity was a weakness. I'd hear things like, get a thicker skin. And, the people around me were trying to protect me because they saw that, like, I felt things deeply. So if I was hurt, like, I was really upset about it. But if I was happy, I was also like really happy because I could feel all my feelings. In fullness. But yeah, I definitely was conditioned to believe it was a bit of a problem. And I think I dimmed my light quite a bit growing up. And then obviously when I met you, I was just being myself, and there was something about my vulnerability that you found inspiring initially and attractive initially.
Yeah.
But then over time, 5-6 years in, I think you found it quite triggering and quite hard to deal with, because you weren't comfortable with your own emotions and you thought that being vulnerable was weak, like
I did.
like many men.
Yeah. I think just that, probably the conditioning of the way in which the environment in which I was raised. And I think this is probably true for a lot of men.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much the younger generation growing up now, but definitely my generation and the older ones have gone before. This idea that if you're a vulnerable man, you're somehow weaker, less than, not as masculine. And it's simply not true.
Yeah.
It's just a narrative that's been passed down generation after generation. And so the unlearning was learning that vulnerability is actually a strength, because the more that I can, and there's a difference between being a blubbering mess as a man all the time and just being a man who can access his feelings and express them in the moment, whatever that is, whether that's sadness or happiness or gratitude or compassion for somebody else. That is absolutely a power.
Hold emotion as well, having capacity to hold emotion. Not make it wrong, not like trying to, like you used to, like, oh, this is too much, like I can't handle this. When you thought that vulnerability was weakness.
That's definitely been my work in learning how to be more vulnerable and share. First of all, notice what's going on inside me.
Yeah.
And then actually sharing when it's needed, when I need to share what's going on, sharing it authentically, and not suppressing, not pretending like it's not there, having any shame about being sad or being angry or whatever's going on is what's going on, and just being okay with that. So it's been a large part of my work, definitely an unlearning.
Yeah.
And it's enabled us both to have a much deeper connection because of my ability. Because you can only go as deep with your partner as you've gone with yourself. And because I was at the beginning of our relationship, I was very surface level with my emotions. There was a limit to how deep we could go. Even though you were very connected to how you were feeling, I wasn't.
Yeah.
And so we could only go so deep in our relationship. And so working through this for myself has allowed us both to go to that deeper level of feeling more connected.
Yeah, and it really is about taking the armor down, isn't it? Like you had armor around your feelings and emotions, and you wouldn't let me really like see yourself because you weren't connected to your soul. You weren't connected to your heart, like the truth of who you were. You were like hiding in yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and so many people are doing this, literally like hiding inside themselves.
Yeah.
And then wondering why other people don't see them, don't hear them, don't understand them. Well, you can't hide inside yourself and be seen. It doesn't work like that. But for me, I think the armor was this whole strong, independent woman thing, this mask that so many women have been pushed. You know, it's been passed down from generations. You know, you can do what a man can do and you don't need a man. And, you know, that somehow, in order for you to be successful, you've got to be strong like a man, which has meant like having no emotions. And that's the opposite of what it means to be feminine and connected to your life force energy and your feelings and your intuition and all those things. So I was definitely, like many women, I think today, conditioned out of that. And, you know, it really didn't allow me the vulnerability of saying, I can't do this, or I need your help, or, you know, I don't want to do this alone. Like maybe I can do it, but I don't want to do it alone. I don't want to feel like I'm doing it on my own. And now I actually see that as a strength to be able to communicate that, feel that. There's no part of me that feels weak for acknowledging that or expressing that. But I really had to unlearn that so that we could have that deeper connection and that intimacy that we both really wanted, that you just can't have when you're both putting up armor.
Number 4, the fourth thing we had to unlearn, marriage is not a competition.
Yes. Anyone else keeping score?
Yeah, we hear from a lot of couples who are keeping score about different things, and we were no different.
Yeah.
We also were keeping score about different things.
Yeah. So like, I'm doing everything, or this is my list. What are you doing?
I've been at work all day. You know, you've just been at home with the kids. I've had a hard day.
Yeah.
All of that stuff in just...
Yeah, my day's been harder. Like one of you shares how hard your day is, and we used to fall into this comparison trap. And then the other one just would go, well, my day was harder, and then just start like literally having a who had it harder competition.
Yeah.
No one's feeling heard, no one's feeling validated, no one's feeling understood or seen. Everybody loses, because the truth is marriage is not a competition. It's a team sport. It's about collaboration. It's about working together. And, you know, in that situation, we had to learn to just validate each other's experience. You know, instead of like, I don't have to agree with you, but I can definitely validate your experience that you had a hard day.
100%.
And actually, that takes way less time and effort. Feels so much better. And then you're able to move through things a lot quicker when you just, you know, allow them to feel whatever they're feeling. Yeah. Validate it, and then you can do the same, and then you can move forward. It's a lot easier.
I think where I went wrong and where a lot of couples go wrong with this is that they don't first validate how they're really feeling in themselves.
Yes.
And then acknowledge the need.
Yeah.
So if you're exhausted from work and all the things that are going on in your life, and you're just feeling totally, you know, just wrecked from it all, it's just, you're just too busy. You've got too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
That's when the comparison comes out, and you're basically in those moments of comparison, you're just you're looking for someone to see you and to acknowledge that you've got it's been tough.
Yeah.
But you can see yourself, you can acknowledge yourself, and you can actually give yourself what you need. And that'll look different for everyone. But for me, it was, you know, coming home from work early, it was asking work to have a day off. It was, you know, resting on the weekend instead of working more. Yeah. Taking holidays. It was saying no to certain things that I actually didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And then I could actually start to support myself. And then when you're supporting yourself, there's less of the competition. There's less of the, you know, I feel hard done by.
Yeah, because you're overwhelmed and overworked.
Yep.
And it's not either of your fault, but it is both your responsibility to check in and go, we have created this. So like, where do we need to have better boundaries? Where do we actually need to communicate? No.
Yeah, make some different decisions.
You know.
Get rid of some things that are in the calendar and just say no to a few more things.
How can we support each other better so that it's no longer us against each other? It's not you versus me. It's us against the problems. It's us against the things coming into our life. And we are, as a team, picking and choosing what's going to work for us and really creating the life that we want instead of, being a victim to circumstances where, no one feels supported when you live like that.
Yeah, totally.
That team energy that we now have really means that you're leveraging your strengths, you're working to your strengths, and you're celebrating each other. You're focusing on what's working, and the things that aren't working, you're looking at them together, but it's both of you against the problem. And it's just like a team mindset. It's a very different energy. And you really realize you are in this together because you are. That's what a marriage is. And it just builds that foundation of like trust and respect. And you just can achieve so much more from that mindset.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Number 5, resentment is not protection.
Yeah, I think we both used this one as an excuse. I think a lot of people use resentment as a subtle way to blame their partner, as an excuse not to change, not to do anything, as an excuse not to take responsibility for your own stuff that's going on and the things you're avoiding. It just seems easier to blame someone else and say you can't do X because you feel resentful. But the truth is, resentment has an equation. Like, you get into resentment because you're not honoring your needs. You're not meeting your own needs. You're not communicating your needs. You're neglecting the relationship, and then you feel resentful. So you know how you get into resentment, so you just do the opposite to get out of it. It's just an equation. You start to meet your own needs. You start to communicate what your needs are. You start to prioritize the relationship. You stop neglecting it and actually start watering it. Start investing into the relationship. And then, like magic, the resentment dissolves because you're actually doing what is required to have a relationship. And the irony is that is what protects you. Actually honoring your needs, meeting your needs, and meeting the needs of the relationship is what protects the relationship and yourself. Neglecting it is what puts you in danger, and self-abandoning, abandoning yourself and the needs of the relationship, neglecting the needs of the relationship is what creates the problem, and so...
I used this one for a long time.
Yeah,
I was definitely resentful and used it as an excuse as to, why I felt the way I felt. And I was really just protecting myself. And I didn't have that deeper understanding at that time that really it was about unmet needs within me.
Yeah.
I had so many unmet needs. I was stressed. I was, it's hard when you have, kids, especially when you have a second child or a third or more. It starts to get really challenging, and there's a stretch of your capacity. And it was easier to just be resentful at you than actually acknowledge, well, I'm struggling a bit here. I probably need to, how I can support myself better. What do I need? What do I need to do? So that's number 5. It's a very common one.
It is. And the truth is, it's not protecting you. So I know many of you are telling a story that it's protecting you from being hurt. The truth is, it is reinforcing hurting you. Resentment just is actually hurting you more. And it's reinforcing that you're not worthy, that you're not deserving. Because when you have resentment, you are neglecting your own needs. You are abandoning yourself and then blaming your partner or your children or your work or the government. You're blaming someone else for why you are not meeting your own needs. That equation does not make sense. It's so disempowering. And you're outsourcing everything to everybody else. So you have to really hear that. And like when that switch goes off, I know when that switch went off for both of us, we were like, never again. Like, we know now that if any form of resentment comes up, we bring it up straight away and we get very clear on what is the need that's not being met, and we meet it. That's it. And then it goes away. It's very simple, and it's very easy to do. So avoiding it will not solve it, and it's actually just hurting you more. You are worthy of your needs being met, but they can't be met in your relationship if you're not meeting them in yourself. Like, it starts with you. So that shift is huge, because resentment will create separation. It's the number one reason why people get divorced. And I think it was the biggest thing we had to unlearn so that we didn't get divorced, so that we could actually build a closer connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 6, withholding the truth doesn't protect the relationship. This was a big one for me. I think I had so much shame around all of the different areas of my life. And I would not tell Aston all of the details of things. So, for example, there was a time when I lost a lot of money, and I wasn't completely honest about all the details of what had happened and all of the stuff to do with that money being lost. And so I thought I was protecting Aston. My story that I made up in my own mind was that I was protecting Aston by not telling her everything, just telling her the things that I thought she needed to know. But I was lying. And when you do that, you're obviously breaking trust and you're not building a stronger relationship. You're breaking it down. So withholding the truth in any area, and this really, it begins with yourself. This is not about your partner to begin with. It's actually about yourself. And I was doing this in all areas. So I was telling myself, it's not that bad. Your financial situation isn't that bad. Your body is not that bad. Your career isn't that bad. Everything was like just trying to just
brush over
things and just pretend like it wasn't that bad. The trouble with that is that nothing changes. So if you're going to lie to yourself like that, nothing will change. And this is a big problem for men.
Yeah.
A lot of men suffer from a lot of shame around their masculinity, around their ability to make an income, around their ability to generate wealth, around
whether
their bodies,
whether their wife is happy,
whether their wife's happy, whether their kids are happy, all of the things, whether they have a home and whether all the things, how they're perceived, whether they're perceived as successful, and it goes on and on. But unless we can be truthful about that and we can't dissolve the shame. And when you don't face it and when you're not honest, the shame will just keep you trapped. And it's suffocating.
Yeah.
And most men live the majority of their lives suffocated by shame.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't look vital. That's why they don't have thriving relationships. That's why their bank account isn't
where they want it to be.
Where they want it to be, and
that's
they're
why
not
they
living
avoid the work.
Yep, and they're not living the life that they really want to live. If they were honest, they'd probably be making some different decisions about how they live their life.
Yeah.
So this is an encouragement, especially to all the men listening, to really be honest about where you're at. I had to take stock and go, okay, how would I actually rate my health out of 10 right now? If I'm being completely honest, maybe you need to pretend to be somebody else looking in on you.
Yes.
Someone who maybe you admire in the health sphere or the finance sphere.
Yeah.
Like if they looked in and they looked at all of your things in your life, what you ate, the exercise you did or didn't do, how would they rate you out of 10? And do that for every area of your life and just be really honest.
Yeah.
No one else has to see it but you. But it then helps you to get clear and go, okay, well, maybe I may need to make a shift here and a shift there. And that for me was an opening to a whole nother reality.
Yeah.
Like the chance to change things and take a new path. But you can't do that until you're really honest. And you're only going to feel shit for, a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
But then you can start to feel better because you'll make a new choice. And then every day, one decision at a time, you start to feel better about all the different areas.
Yeah. And I think for Adam, like, I really helped you see that I could feel that you were lying. And like every woman listening, she intuitively knows. Her body tells her, like, you're telling her everything's fine. And she's like, no, it's not. Like, you're saying all the right words, but I can feel it. And I kept saying that to you. I kept saying to you, like, I can feel that you're lying to me. I want to trust you, but the key ingredient for trust is being transparent. So you have to be transparent. And I would say to you, like, you're safe with me. I'm not going to tell you off. Like, I think you had some childhood wounding of like, you're going to be in trouble and then someone's going to yell at you and things like that. And I was like, I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to tell you off, but I need you to be honest with me. If you can't be honest and you can't tell the truth, we can't move forward. I can't work with that. No one can work with lies. You can't solve problems with lies. So I think that was kind of the opening for you, and you were like, okay, like I can't keep lying. I am lying. It's not like a half truth or like whatever you want to call it. It's a lie. And you can't have respect for yourself or trust yourself when you're lying. It doesn't work like that. So no wonder I didn't respect you or trust you. And I think that was the moment where you were like, you know what have I got to lose? Like, I'm just going to tell her the truth. And you told me the truth. And, some of it was hard to hear, but I was a safe space and I listened and I felt my feelings. And once we'd felt our feelings, we could come back and we could be like, okay, well, how do we want to work forward? Like, how do we want to move forward? What have we learned from this? What changes are we going to make? Because that needs to happen. Like, you had to make a lot of behavioral changes to your beliefs, your identity, so that you could become a man who was in integrity, who did tell the truth, who respected himself, and could be honest and wasn't ashamed about it. And I think what unlocked for you was like this so much freedom. Like you wanted to feel free. So many men want freedom, but they don't understand that the shame and the lying is keeping them trapped in suffering, and that they will never be free lying to themselves and lying to the people around them. You will never be free if you do that. Honesty is what will set you free. The truth will set you free. And it's not always comfortable, but it is always the right thing to do. It's hard, but it is always the right thing to do. And I think you realize that through that, and it became like a turning point for you, that the whole truth is required. And in order to build trust and respect, you need transparency and honesty. And that's when we began to rebuild trust in our relationship. And it definitely wasn't about perfection at all. It's just about being authentic, about being honest and transparent. And that is actually where love grows, because that creates safety. And you know, the safest relationships are the ones where you can be fully yourself, where you can be authentic, where you can tell the truth, and, you know, you can be held in that. So, you know, I really think people misunderstand the power of like fears and like flaws and mistakes and even conflict to build connection, to build trust, to build intimacy. We've built some of our deepest intimacy and connection in our marriage during hard times.
Yeah.
Absolutely. During the hard times. So we've had plenty of good times, but we've actually deepened our intimacy and connection to another level during hard times, and how we have shown up in those hard times. That has been the biggest takeaway. And I think a lot of couples, this is where they stuff up. They don't show up during the hard times. They don't lean in, they lean out, they avoid, they run, all the things, and then that's what they get remembered for, because you really are remembered for how you show up in hard times. So I think that's been huge for you know, really taking our relationship to the next level. Like, you know, 11 years of marriage and 22 years together. And yeah, there were some big unlearnings, some huge unlearnings that we've had. So, you know, one thing we know for sure is a happy marriage is absolutely not built on luck. Like if anyone ever says to us, you guys are so lucky, I'm like, I get angry. Like, really? You really think we got here 22 years later and 11 years of marriage and all the stuff we've been through, and you think it was luck? Like, it's not luck, okay? Any happy marriages you see, our marriage is not built on luck. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's built on unlearning patterns and behaviors and conditioning that wasn't working, and relearning like behaviors, patterns, conditioning, new ways of relating to each other and ourselves that actually create the marriage and the relationship you want.
Yeah, totally. It definitely takes effort. It's like anything in life. If you want a great business, it takes a lot of effort. If you want a great body, it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
There's no shortcuts. There is an easier path, which is getting help from someone who's already been there before, but there's definitely no free ride.
Yeah, definitely not. And, you know, a lot of people need to like understand that if you're successful in another area of your life, like your business or your health, what are you doing there that you're not doing in your marriage? And I can almost guarantee you're not putting any time, effort, energy, or money into it. And that's why it's not doing very well. Yeah. So, you know, take the feedback. Like if you would have had success in at least one area of your life, and you can map across what you do in that area to your marriage. Yeah. And I would highly recommend it, because it's the biggest indicator of happiness and health and vitality is your relationship and your marriage. So definitely don't leave it up to like luck or hope, because that's not a strategy, and it doesn't work like that for anyone.
No, it doesn't.
But yeah, I've loved reflecting on this with you, babe. And I really hope everyone's got some value from this episode. Yeah. If you have, please share with us. If you're watching on YouTube, you can share in the comments which lesson you're unlearning from.
Yep. If you're listening to the podcast, you can obviously send us a DM on Instagram. It's Aston_Simmons. That's SIMMONDS, or Adam__Simmons, spelled the same. We'd love to hear from you guys. Obviously, we don't hear a lot. Yes. How you guys have received the episodes. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And
Yeah, thanks for celebrating 22 years together with us, 11 years of marriage. And
absolutely.
We know that we've got many more years to come, and we haven't reached the final destination. We're always evolving and growing, and we always will be. That's the whole point, to keep recreating your relationship. That's how you save it. So we're committed to that, and we'd love you to continue to follow us on the journey. So if you do love these episodes, please leave a review. We would absolutely love that. That really does help the show more than you know. So that we can keep bringing these episodes to you. So thank you for listening.